All right, and we are live. Welcome back with Murphy Mac to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast, where we help you get started on your fitness journey. How's it going, everybody? Hope you're all off to a great week. We have a cool podcast topic for y'all. We have a guest joining us. We're going to do a little interview. We're going to bring him up to the screen now. We have Mr. Matthew Graham joining us. I believe you're
I'm in
joining us from China. Is that right?
yeah,
Shanghai?
I'm in Shanghai today, but please
Okay.
call me Maddie. Otherwise,
Oh, Maddie.
I feel
Okay.
old.
Okay, I like Maddie. That's cool with me. All right. Just to start it off, just give the listeners just a quick little snippet of who you are and what you do.
Sure thing. So I'm in the business of investing. We invest all around the world, especially at the intersection of Web3 and AI, and we especially help our portfolio companies in emerging markets. We have boots on the ground everywhere from Latin America to Southeast Asia and places, a lot of places in between, India plus China. That's why I'm in Shanghai a lot. So that's what I do.
And that's your is so Ryze Labs, is that your company?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
Tech investing, and then we do some incubation as well.
Awesome. So you have something interesting that you did that we're going to talk about. You got some good results from using AI in fitness, and I know this is a big topic now because AI is everywhere now at this point, and it's definitely going to bring itself over into the fitness world, which you've already started experimenting with that. So I want to talk about like your journey and how you utilize AI to do this. So you lost 40 pounds, you dropped your
No,
body
no,
fat.
no, I didn't lose 40 pounds. I increased my deadlift like 40 pounds.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh yeah, my bad. I
Yeah,
read
yeah,
that
no
wrong.
problem, no problem.
Sorry. But so
Yeah. My father could probably lose 40 pounds, but I could only lose maybe 5 or 10.
yeah. So why did you use AI in the first place to do this? And how did you
Sure,
use AI?
sure. So AI is at the center of my work for investing. But then, in my personal life, I've always been pretty focused on health and fitness and things like that. We sponsor an Olympic athlete. I was an athlete. It's an important part of my life. So it was kind of a natural fit to start thinking about how AI can help in that aspect of my life. And I think it is really helpful in a lot of pretty profound ways. Some of which people can start using. Anyone really can start using right away, which is why I thought it would be cool to do this podcast with you here today.
Mhm.
And I think the first thing, first and foremost, is I really think we're at the beginning stages of almost like a revolution in health and fitness because of all these technologies that are coming out. And it's not going to be like just Ozempic and things like that. There are a lot of technologies that are coming out and that are just entering mainstream use, like TRT. Um, but it's going to be really confusing for people, and the pace is it's confusing for me, and the pace is only going to increase. So obviously, you know, using these kinds of, I mean, I think of them as technologies, right? Using these kinds of new technologies is not going to be for everyone, but for people who are interested in that kind of like biohacking and how you can use new things to increase your ability to be healthy and get fit, longevity, stuff like that. If you are interested in that kind of thing, it's really hard to understand what's going on your own, even if you like have a technical and scientific education, which I do to some extent, but it's still really hard for me. So the first thing is you can use AI to really make sense of all this. You can use
Mhm.
AI uh, for example, a bunch of people are telling me that peptides are really hot these days, and I don't even really understand a lot about peptides. So I can go and I can use AI and I can say, okay, explain to me. I'm hearing that gray market peptides are all the rage in Silicon Valley. I don't know what that means, but this isn't something that particular thing isn't something that I would use. I'm pretty low on the risk taking spectrum for this type of stuff, but I want to understand what's going on. So the first thing I can do is I can go and I can use some of these LLM products like ChatGPT, and I can say, like, explain to me what is the difference between a SARM and a peptide? I don't really know, to be honest, right? And then I can say, okay, so then these 10 names, like, what do they even do? So making sense of all the tremendous information, the tremendous quantity of information that's coming out is really the first and most important use case for AI, I think. But also just you can use it for pattern matching also in a way that's quite profound. Like if you have, that constellation of symptoms that is still, you have some kind of little problem that the doctors can't figure out. Maybe it's your rotator cuff, maybe it's whatever. I mean, these are pattern matching engines, and fundamentally at their core. So a pattern matching engine is naturally suited to be really good at being able to fix that little problem that's been nagging for years and years, things like that. So they can also be a good supplement to the doctors and your personal trainers and things like that. So the first and foremost is information, um, which is, kind of obvious, but I think more than anything else, they're absolutely tremendously powerful for making sense of health and fitness information, especially in the context of the fact that there's tons of new technologies coming out all the time. That's the first thing. Maybe just pause here in case you want to talk more about that. I hope
No,
I'm allowed in
I
some of
think
these on your show, like gray market peptides or whatever.
yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
that's great. I mean, having all the information literally at your fingertips
Yeah.
is great. Um, we got to get more people utilizing it so they can, like you said, you had a question about the peptide. What does this even do for me? We got to
Yeah.
get people we got to get people thinking to be able to utilize it more. But yeah, I think it's awesome that you have pretty much everything you need, and eventually you're going to get even more information from it because you're going to be able to plug in your own data into the AI, and then it's going to be able to tell you back what exactly is wrong with you. So I think
That's
that's
the next
great.
thing. Yeah, exactly. That's when it gets super powerful. That's really like
Mhm.
the next step, and that was actually what I want to talk about next. Is um, I mean, time is so compressed for us in all aspects of our life. Everything, the pace is so fast. So I don't, because I live in Asia, so I don't have a ton of experiences recently with the American healthcare system, for example. But yeah, as I understand it, it can be pretty hard to get 5 minutes of concentrated attention from a doctor, and
Mhm.
you're not really getting the kind of time and attention that you need. And personal trainer, you might have a couple appointments per week, but they got tons of clients, things like that. What ends up happening probably is that you're getting kind of like a generic quality of service. They're telling you something that is appropriate for most of their patients or fitness clients, but not necessarily you. I mean, they'll try, everyone's making their best effort, probably. They'll try to think about what's best for you specifically, but realistically, with the way attention is compressed in our society, you're probably not getting a lot of personal advice throughout all of your health and fitness experts in your life, unless you're, at the very upper end where you're having a concierge doctor and all kinds of, you know, rich people services, right? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but it turns out that AI can be a really powerful supplement to that.
Mhm.
AI has, in a sense, unlimited time. You know, you're it creates a situation where it's as if you're the only client, you're the only person in the world, right? And you can, more importantly, it has you can feed it all of your data, right? It can keep track of all of this data over time. You can feed it. You can feed it. I mean, I'll tell you what I do. I feed progress pics. I feed progress pics into my AI. I feed it. Things like if on a certain day I was fatigued or a certain day I had more energy, or how are all of my lifts, changing over time, and what are my macros and things like that. Plus, you can also there are also ways to feed the data in from your Apple Watch or whatever other technologies you use, and so you end up with a tremendous repository of data, way more than your personal trainer or even your doctor would have, and also with way more of a capacity, realistically, for that evaluation, for that information to be evaluated. Because your doctor or even a nurse or even your personal trainer, uh, they're not going to, even if they had all that data, they're not going to have the time to be able to evaluate it all. But to have an
Hmm.
intelligent engine, an intelligent machine that has all that data, if you take the time to get it set up, so you're feeding these things in. And then it's a pattern matching expert that's at the core of what an AI does. So it's really able to give customized advice and customized plans for you specifically in a way that was never really possible before. So I tend to think that's pretty cool and a pretty powerful paradigm, and it will only get more so because currently we're only at the very beginning stages of AI being productized for specific use case. It's more like these general products like, okay, here's ChatGPT, but there's not really ChatGPT for fitness yet. But once we're so early in this new type of technology, but that's going to happen soon. We're going to have very specific AIs that are designed specifically for fitness use case, health use cases, things like that, and it's going to be an extremely powerful paradigm, I think.
Absolutely, and you actually took it a step further. And I was thinking, just plug in your blood markers and things like that. But you're almost using it as like a journal. So like you're putting progress pictures in there. You're putting how you felt that day, what your weights and sets were that day. So I think that's a really good idea. Actually, I think the more information you can feed it, the more it's gonna be able to give you useful information back. So that's a
Yeah,
good
and
idea to use it kind of like a little journal every day.
less time than you think,
Mm-hmm.
and it's able to even extrapolate just based on a few just take a couple pics after. A lot of people do this anyway. They take their
Mm-hmm.
progress pics after their workout and feed in that Apple Watch data. It takes less time than you think, actually, and it's way more accurate in terms of um, like getting a body composition estimate. How is my body fat percentage and how many pounds of muscle do I have and how do these things change over time? It's way more accurate than like an at-home smart scale or something like that from, what is it called? Withings or whatever. Like I've tried all those different things. Um, and they can be useful, and I think but the problem is that it bounces around too much. It's too
Mm-hmm.
inaccurate. I think AI is probably already at the stage where uh, estimate body composition, just as one example, body composition estimates from photos is probably already more accurate than a smart scale, for example. So it can
Mm-hmm.
be pretty useful in a wide variety of ways. There's only one problem. You have to be careful it'll try to gas you up, which is kind of weird. So it's really true because these things, part of it's really true. And it's a weird thing. So these, you have to keep this in mind. It's really true and quite important.
Mm-hmm.
These things are trained on pleasing people too. In
Mm-hmm.
addition to being trained on being accurate, they're actually trained on, are you satisfied with this response? Did I give a good response? So what ends up happening over time is that they're trained to jazz you up. And I mean, I guess that could be great if that's what a person wanted, but really what we're trying to accomplish here is to get objective data,
Mm-hmm.
objective feedback, and things like that. So you really have to be very carefully prompt these AIs and be like, hey, don't kiss my ass, just call it like it is. You really have to even say that, even
Yeah.
put that in the prompts, because otherwise they'll start really just you know jazzing you up, and these are very intelligent systems, so they do it in a way that is almost kind of subtle,
Mm-hmm.
So you have to watch out for it. They'll just shave off, like, if you're 14% body fat, they'll call it 12. It's, you know what it is? It's like if a girl is like, how old do you think I am? And you think she's 29, so you're like, oh, you're probably 26, right? They're like that. It's like that, right? So they're trying to. It's very similar, honestly. So you have to tell the AI, and just, I'm not looking for you to make me feel good. I want you to tell me how I'm doing objectively. And interestingly, that will actually work. It will actually, like, take that to heart. So it's really kind of an interesting thing that's actually quite important.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up because you
Yeah,
think that these AIs are not biased, but like you said, they may be a little biased to make it sound a little bit better than what it actually is to
bias
make you
to
keep
please
using it.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Which
yeah,
is
that's a
a
good
kind of
point.
weird thing, it's very subtle, which actually makes it even more important to be aware of it, because they'll just, like, subtly butter you up and subtly tell you. They're very good at, again, pattern matching, and they're trained for this to please you. So they're good at very subtly telling you what you want to hear, or things like that. Got to be really careful with that, actually.
Yeah, you got me wanting to try it now. I want to upload a photo and see kind of what it says for me. I'm curious now.
Yeah.
I hadn't really used it much in my own fitness, so I want to try that.
But it can be good too, because it can be cool too, because you can slice the data in all kinds of ways. Like, for a
Hmm.
person like me that's maybe a little older, I can say, well, compare me to people in my demographics. Where am I not doing so well? Where am I doing okay? Things like that might be something that you want to do, or just whatever. Compare me to, if you're I don't know, if you're a high school baseball player, you could say, well, compare me to other high school baseball players, or things like that. Which actually it does a pretty good job at that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
interesting.
kind
I
of
never.
interesting applications. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea to make it to allow you to compare like to other people your same age and your demographic to see kind of where you lie on the spectrum. So that's pretty. Yeah, you
Mhm.
got some interesting ideas. You got me my mind going now. I'm gonna have to try some of this out.
Yeah.
I used it a little bit, but not as much as I could. Well, that's why
Yeah.
I'm glad we're having this conversation today.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Chat GPT a couple times. Is that the main AI LLM that you're using, or which ones are you using?
Sure. So I use basically like all of these. I use Claude. I use DeepSeek, Claude, Manus, ChatGPT. I use a bunch of different. I mean, I'm in the business of investing in AI. So for a
Hmm.
wide variety of reasons, I use basically all of the latest and greatest different AIs, but not necessarily for health and fitness. So for health and fitness, I primarily use ChatGPT, plus some internal technologies that were uh, out of our research and the companies that we're incubating, which are focused on digital twins and digital personalities. So, for example, you could have your digital fitness coach that you could have customized to whatever you want. You could say, I want my digital fitness coach to be trained on whoever you want. Could be Huberman, could be Brian Johnson, could be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can actually train an LLM to have the body of knowledge and the characteristics of the fitness coach of your dreams. So I also use some of these internal technologies that we're researching, that we are working on productizing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the speaking of the twin, you mentioned you actually utilize that in your own kind of fitness journey. So what does that look like? What is this twin doing? Like how are you creating it? Obviously in the like how is it? Yeah, how are you creating that and what's it doing for you?
Sure. So there's a bunch of different technologies that we can use to fine tune these AI, specifically a body of knowledge. And a body of knowledge is, I guess, one way of describing a person, where our knowledge and personality and ultimately all these things you can uh, let me maybe start over. So look, I mean, you can describe all the characteristics of a person, and you can describe their speech mannerisms, and you can give demographic information and all kinds of things like that. And if you provide enough information, eventually you're able to describe a person pretty well. And it turns out that you actually need probably way less information than you think, which um, uh, so we're working on having LLMs that are fine tuned on the specific characteristics of a person, such that eventually we could have you talk to me, and we could have you talk to my digital twin, and you wouldn't be able to say, even if you knew me fairly well, the technology is getting so good that we can have it such that you would not be able to tell which is which. Are you talking to me, or are you talking to my digital twin? um, the way this ends up being useful um, in a fitness and health context is that you can do all kinds of, you can even have your digital twin talk to your AI fitness coach. You can run all kinds of simulations and experiments. You can say, hey, what if my digital twin went on TRT? What would that look like? What does my digital twin look like 2 months from now? Is he in better shape? Is he more aggressive? I don't know, whatever. You can run all these simulations and experiments and things like that with your digital twin. You can have your digital twin talk to your fitness coach. There are many of the applications for this type of technology are outside health and fitness, but those are some of the interesting avenues that we're exploring in terms of health and fitness specifically.
So you're just wanting the AI to run like basically tests on your digital twin to see if it would be beneficial for you in real life. Is that kind of how that works?
That's one application for sure. That's
Hmm.
it. Really, a lot of the most interesting applications of the digital twins are once you allow them to be social, once you allow for example, if you had a digital twin, you could enable people all around the world 24/7 to talk to you, even when you're sleeping, even when you're busy, to ask fitness questions and things like that. Many of the applications of digital twins, in my view, are when you allow them to start being social, um, and even talk to each other and things like that. But certainly, one use case of digital twins and digital companions and things like that are to be able to run simulations and kind of like experiments, um, for sure.
Okay, so it's yeah, it's more. It's not necessarily meant for like health and fitness wise. It's more for doing like other tasks and things.
I think eventually it will be both. I
Yeah.
think eventually it will be both.
So how did you use your digital twin when it come to your own fitness journey? To say just to adding the 40 pounds to your deadlift.
So the way I use digital twins and digital companions, such as my digital fitness guru, is to design fitness programs that are specifically for me, specifically for my own personal needs, and being able to make adjustments on the fly if I have more energy this day, more fatigue that day, things like that. So a lot of it's about customization and personalization in the way that I've been using it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, which I think is pretty important because you can start to plateau. I had a little bit of a rotator cuff injury that was nagging, and I was having trouble figuring out how to overcome it because I didn't want to rest from the gym, things like that. All this ability to personalize things can be tremendously important for crashing through those plateaus and being able to stay injury free and things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
for somebody that's curious that's interested in doing one and making a digital twin, is that something they can do now, or is this still something y'all are working on, or can you do this like on Chat GPT? How does that work?
Sure. So I think One of our portfolio companies, Amico, is productizing this concept, and they are about to open their public beta.
Mhm.
Uh, so one way to do that is to get on the waiting list with the Amico team. And then certainly another way to start playing with some of these technologies is to get in there with ChatGPT and start providing information such that you can get information that's customized and personalized to you. It doesn't have to be ChatGPT, obviously. It could be Claude or one of the other LLMs as well.
So, do you see any potential dangers with creating a digital twin? I know this is a big topic with AI, but I don't know. It just seems like creating somebody that's supposed to be you and is acting like you. I feel like there
Uh,
may be some potential issues there.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is definitely yes, right? So I think that there are a lot of privacy implications. So any implementation of a digital twin has to be very thoughtful in the way it handles privacy in a granular way that respects information, you know, all kinds of information that may or may not be sensitive to you. Obviously, anything related to health information, it should have a way of keeping that private and secure. And so there are a lot of considerations around that, of course. But then AI in general, I think, is going to have some uh, pretty profound ethics issues all around that we're all going to kind of have to collectively think through. I think it's a, a technology that's much, much, much more powerful than social networking, which is kind of the one of the last times we had to really grapple with the ethics of technology that was similar, at all similar to what AI could be. And I think social networking had a lot of negative effects on society. So I think we're going to have to do that only even more so with AI. There's going to be a lot of issues. We're even seeing already issues where people are developing a kind of AI psychosis from talking to AI too much, where they can almost get sick from just constantly talking to AI all the time and creating like an imaginary little world with their AI. I think that these are going to be big problems that we're going to have to deal with for sure. So AI is, in my view, is like most technologies. It's fundamentally amoral, and then in terms of the way it's applied, that's when we find out if it's something that's good or something that's bad. Just like nuclear power, right? We can use it for a bomb, or we can use it for to energy to people's homes and such, right? All these
Mhm.
technologies are. We find out if they're good or bad when they're applied. The technologies themselves are fundamentally amoral, and I think that AI is no different. There are going to be a lot of things that we will need to discuss, kind of as societies in terms of what's okay and what's not okay with these things.
Yeah, but you seem pretty. You're already putting a lot of your own personal information into one, so you seem pretty. You think it's pretty safe, to plug in, health.
Yeah, I
health
mean, Sam
info.
Altman has some of my nudes when sometimes it's true, he does. I say, hey, do the full body. How am I looking? So true, he does. What am I going to do?
So you're
Uh,
not you're not concerned about no
I
data
think that
privacy or anything.
I don't mean to suggest that it's not a valid thing that people should be concerned about, because I absolutely think it is.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, like I mentioned earlier in the show, in terms of what I put in my body, I'm probably at the very low uh, end of the spectrum in terms of willingness to take risk. I'm probably not super willing to take risks, but for me personally, I tend to care less about uh, privacy of that type of information, even though in other ways I'm an extremely private person. I think ultimately everyone is going to kind of have to make these decisions for themselves, but I think it's absolutely a major issue that people want to think very carefully about. I just happen to not care if I don't know if Sam, in the extremely unlikely event that Sam Altman has the time to look at my nudes, I don't know. What am I gonna do?
Okay. So how do you connect your Apple Watch or your Samsung Watch or Google? How do you connect these to these AIs?
I have a script that I run that feeds the information in. But the good news is, which is a little cumbersome and that's not really ready for most people yet, but the
Hmm.
good news is that um, many people are working on productizing the use of AI for fitness and health. So I'm sure there will be convenient tools for people to use apps and things like that if there aren't already.
Yeah, for sure. I could definitely see that being utilized. Probably Apple probably pick it up and start doing it themselves.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So how are you using AI for any like recovery things?
I a little bit. I mean, sometimes I get a little bit nicked up. Like I wear a what's it called, a brace,
Hmm.
a wrist strap, not a wrist strap, but a wrist brace or whatever, because I tore a ligament like a year or two, and sometimes my rotator cuff gets a little twingy. So I have a few things that I got to make sure are taken care of, and so I'm focused on making sure those things stay healthy. But I guess probably you meant more not injury recovery, but more like recovery. Like, when are you ready to go back in and hit the weights again, right?
Hmm.
Recuperation. So yeah, I mean, I feed in some qualitative data on a near daily basis to be able to determine if I'm starting to overtrain or things like that, for sure, which I think can be super helpful because, especially because someone like me, I have a tendency to want to be a little bit extreme about everything. Um, so it's probably pretty easy for me to overtrain. So yeah, I think it's important to have almost like a third party observer. It can be your AI, right? That's telling you like, hey, man, you can't just train for 2 hours every day. You need to take a day off or whatever, right? Things
Hmm.
like that. I think that can be super helpful. Have like an angel on your shoulder or whatever. First personal trainer on your shoulder.
So how are you using it for your nutrition?
I should be better with nutrition. I should do a better job with that. Um, AI is great for planning macros and nutrition in all kinds of ways. I tend to be a little lazy about that, but I should definitely do more.
So what are some good prompts that you like to use to when you're asking AI to get useful feedback or advice? Because I know you want to be as specific as possible, and I see a lot of people writing these prompts. So what are some good ones that you like to use?
So I do have standard prompts that I run. I like to ask for an assessment of my physiological age. I like to have AI give me an assessment of my progress over time in various categories compared to, I'd like to say, give me my day over day, week over week, month over month, year over year progress in various categories. As I mentioned, I like to have it rate me compared to different demographics and things like that. Those are some of the things that I make sure to always include in my prompts. As I mentioned, also, I do think it's super important to constantly yell at the AI to give you objective information. Rather, that's honestly one of the most important things. You gotta be like, bro, just tell it to me like it is. Don't jazz me up. Is really what I mean. You can say it to the AI just like that, or you can say it in a more formal way. But it's really tremendously important.
Hmm. So I've seen a few different like AI coaches that are already a thing now, like apps that are utilizing AI. So in your opinion, does making a digital twin is that more powerful than just using some regular fitness app with AI features built into it?
I think it probably is. You're probably talking about a different level of information and a different level of fine tuning and customization. I haven't seen I haven't necessarily used the latest AI fitness apps. I do more customized things, but I imagine it's a much more powerful paradigm. It's trained specifically on you rather than on thousands of people.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah,
And it's just going to get smarter with the more information that you feed into it.
right.
It's going
Exactly.
to
For
keep
sure.
learning. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's one of the things that's so interesting. As time, the more you use them, the better they get.
Hmm.
For sure.
So who do you see benefiting from this AI the most? Is it you think is going to be more tailored towards athletes, maybe beginners that are starting in the gym, or pretty much just anybody?
That's a good question. I think it has the potential to be beneficial to anyone, but I think that I was just thinking about this yesterday. I think that what's so interesting is that I had always assumed, for example, my own assumption had been that the more information that everyone had, just kind of like the overall or most people's knowledge or an understanding of the world would dramatically increase. And I think that we've really seen over the past 10 to 20 years that that's absolutely not true. I was absolutely 100% wrong. So I had kind of assumed like the internet, now it's like a library at your fingertips wherever you go. So everybody gets so much smarter. I don't think that has proven to be true at all. We have, anti-vaxxers. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on where people don't know what the hell they're talking about.
It's probably the complete opposite. People are probably less smart nowadays because you don't have to
Yeah,
learn things.
we don't have to learn things, but also when the gatekeeper, like we had kind of like information gatekeepers. So they were doctors, scientists, the New York Times, all kinds of different information gatekeepers. And those gatekeepers have kind of collapsed. And now everyone gatekeeps for themselves and has access to tons of information, but only some of it's true. So what ends up happening is that everyone is making their own individual assessments, and not everyone is really qualified to do that. So it ends up not being true that people are getting more knowledgeable about the world kind of individually or collectively. So I think where I'm going with this is that I think it's probably like that's probably likely to happen with AI as well. And what will end up being the most important thing is ability to understand the way the technology works, but not in like a engineer way, just in like a common sense way, like little things like the example I keep giving about understanding that the AI will kiss your ass if you don't tell it not to. Just little common sense things like that, such that you're able to use these technologies in a way that increases your knowledge in about the world and ability to do things in real life rather than decreases it. So I think it's really for everyone, but it will be tremendously important to have technology common sense, which is not the same thing as just to be clear, it's not the same thing as like being an engineer or whatever.
Hmm.
Anyone can learn or have technology common sense, but it will end up being a really, 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 really important skill.
Yeah, it's funny seeing like the older generation try to use technology. Like my grandparents trying to use an iPhone is the
Yeah,
funniest
yeah,
thing ever.
yeah.
They don't get it.
My mother still doesn't understand what the hell I do.
No, it definitely has a learning curve to it. If you didn't grow up with it,
Yeah,
there's definitely
for
some learning you have to do there. And
yeah.
unfortunately, the internet is just full of false information and stuff that's
Well,
just
that's the
completely made
problem.
up.
That's where I went so wrong when I had this big assumption that a world of information at everyone's fingertips would be unequivocally a good thing for everyone. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand that it's like the environment, and the environment can also be polluted by trash everywhere. And then what happens if people can't differentiate between the trash and what's not trash? And it's really gotten quite messy, I think.
So, what do you think AI is going to help that? Do you think it's going to make that better? Or do you think
Well,
it's going to make it worse?
I think it's going to do both. I think it's going to make it better for people who have technology common sense. And
Mm-hmm.
I think people that don't are going to find ways to support their pseudoscientific beliefs and go down weird rabbit holes and have conspiracy theories and things like that. I think it's going to be the same thing, only much in a much more powerful way.
Mm-hmm.
That would kind of be my default. I hope I'm wrong, but that's kind of my default assumption
Yeah.
based on learning how very wrong I was about the internet and its ability to increase people's individual and collective, knowledge and even intelligence. I was clearly very wrong about that. So maybe I'm overlearning my lesson. I hope I am, but that would be my default assumption.
Yeah, that's interesting to think that everybody has any information they need at their fingertips now with the internet, but yet we seem like we're not as smart as we used to be, and that's probably
Yeah,
why you don't have to learn anything. There's no point in learning it if we're not
I
at the
think
point.
it's also coincided with a collapse of trust in experts and
Hmm.
institutions. So there are a lot of things going on at the same time.
Yeah, you
But
never know what to believe nowadays.
you definitely don't, and that problem is also going to get a lot worse because of AI too. We're already seeing
Hmm.
uh, fakes and all kinds of different things. So it's a little bit scary to think, well, what happens when we every time we look at a video, an image, or whatever, a voice clip, it could be anything, and we have to think, do I know if this is true? What if it's not true? How would I know? Et cetera, et cetera. We're very rapidly going to lose our ability to know if things are true. Images, videos. In fact, that's probably already happened.
Hmm.
So it's a little bit frightening to think about the long term implications of that when you can fake anything very, very easily. Anyone in the world can very realistically fake images, video of real people, things like that.
And unfortunately, I think it's going to get to the point to where nobody believes anything that they see. Like everybody's just going to immediately assume that things are
Yeah,
false.
I tend to think that's probably
Yeah.
true. I tend to agree with that. And again, the implications are not great, which
Mm-mm.
I think um, I think we need to be very, very, very thoughtful about the future of these technologies. I don't. A lot of people that are in tech for a living tend to want to suggest that all these new technologies are definitely 100% good in most or every way, and I think that's basically nonsense. We need to be very, very thoughtful about how these technologies are used, and we need to be have very real discussions about how there are pros and cons to all these new things. I mean, because look at what we've done to ourselves. Like even me, if don't have my phone in my cell phone in my hand for more than 15 seconds, I start to get antsy.
Hmm.
Which that's probably at the more. I mean, I really do. Like I start to look around. Where's my phone? More than 15 seconds probably. And so that's probably a pretty extreme example of cell phone addiction, but I think we all see cell phone addiction around
Hmm.
us constantly. And that's just one example of where we're really creating technologies that are incredibly powerful, and we absolutely don't have a full understanding of the implications of them. We don't even have a full understanding of the implications of the last generation of technologies where we've created cell phone addiction. So now we're creating ever more powerful technologies we absolutely have to be very, very, very thoughtful about how they're used.
Yeah, the cell phone addiction is a real thing for sure. I feel that 100%.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I'm
And
the
like,
same way,
even, and
unfortunately.
then even it's like, well, what do you do? Like, yeah, I'm addicted to my cell phone, but I also need to use it for work constantly.
Yeah,
So
your life revolves around it. I mean,
how's this
everything you do is on it.
like how am I? It's not like I can just be like, well, I won't use my cell phone anymore. I'll go cold turkey. That's not a real thing at all for me or for most people,
Mm-mm.
right? So how do you even? You're kind of stuck, right? You can say, well, I'll only use it limited hours or whatever, but then that's instantly going to interfere with my work productivity, and that'll just mean I'm on my computer instead anyway. So it's like, how is this? You can't even really break the cycle. So we
Mm.
need to be really, really thoughtful about how we're using these technologies.
So, what are some big misconceptions that people may already have, or you think they may have in the future when it comes to AI and fitness coaching specifically?
For fitness coaching specifically,
Hmm.
um, so misconception. What are the biggest things that people think about AI with respect to fitness coaching? Do you think? I guess I'm not
Mm.
necessarily sure what beliefs people have about fitness and AI. Um, I think the biggest misconception. Many people would disagree with me about this, though. I think there's this concept that uh, AGI or ASI, artificial general intelligence, that this is going to happen sometime soon. A lot of people would disagree with me, but I think that's probably nonsense. Um, these things ultimately are trained to be able to predict the next token, basically, effectively, the next word or words. Um, and I think it's probably nonsense to suggest that they're going to start having, physics breakthroughs and things like that, that they're all of a sudden going to transcend human intelligence in some kind of profound way. A lot of people would disagree with me about that, but also a lot of the people that disagree with me about that are currently trying to raise money for their AI projects and are more likely to successfully do that if people believe that we're going to suddenly have AGI or ASI, So there's some pretty major conflicts of interest. So, but I would probably suggest that we're not going to have Skynet or anything like that anytime soon. I think that the problems that um, and I say that like half kidding, but look, people are talking about what happens when we have AGI, AIs that have an IQ of 220 or something like that. What happens when they go way beyond human intelligence and start having physics breakthroughs and things like that. And they paint these scenarios of, evil Skynet going to take over the world, or good, all of a sudden we'll have all these scientific breakthroughs, or both. I think all of that is probably very, very overstated and quite unlikely anytime soon. That's the biggest misconception that I would push back. But again, I should point out that a lot of people probably disagree with me on that. But again, I pointed out that, or I mentioned probably a couple times, that I think AI will have profound effects, both good and bad. It just won't be from being, the next Einstein only times 100.
So, when you say AGI and ASI, what exactly is that?
Sure. So AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence, but and ASI stands for, I forget what the S is, but basically they're both kind of similar concepts, which is this view that within a couple years, um, frequently people suggest it'll happen within a couple years, that AI will just transcend human intelligence in basically every way. That's what the G stands for general, right? General meaning here, meaning, in every possible way. In that you'll have AIs that humans just absolutely can't compete with on the intelligence front, no matter what it is. And along with that kind of comes the implicit suggestion that they'll have all these scientific breakthroughs, and that all of the future developments in in all or most of the future developments in mathematics and science will come from machines and things like that. I think that's probably significantly overstated. Um, we're dealing with pattern matching machines, but pattern matching machines um, could be good for things like drug discovery by being able to sift through huge amounts of data and find new drugs that and they can be good for being better at humans at chess and game Go and things like that. But I think that I remain unconvinced that that's the same thing as being able to discover the next theory of relativity or something like that. I don't
Hmm.
really see that as the same thing. But many people again disagree with me on this.
Yeah. So it's basically just AI on steroids, basically. Can you hear me? You still there? I think I lost you. Hello. Oh, he just left. Oh. Yeah, I can hear you.
Behind the China Great Firewall, so sometimes I have to use like a VPN and things like that. So sometimes there's little issues.
No, it's all good. So we'll just pick right back up. So Ryze Labs is working on some exciting new innovations. Can you give us a little sneak peek into what y'all are working on? What's coming next?
Sure. So we're especially focused on digital twins and AI companions for social, which I think is inherently pretty interesting. We'll have some announcements, especially with one of our incubated projects called Amico in coming days. So look for that. Amiko, Amico.
Okay. And where do you see AI going for fitness wise in the next like 5 to 10 years from now? Is that digital twin kind of the where you see it in the future?
I think that is maybe one aspect, and then also just personalization. um, Personalization and pattern matching at scale for all these things, like for your AI to be able to have your medical history and all your AI watch and your gym data for years and years and years, and being able to analyze all that in a highly personal and predictive way, I think is the most important thing that will happen, whether that's in the form of a digital twin or other forms. It'll probably take multiple forms, but to be able to have that long history of many different types of data, I think will be tremendously important for being able to do customized gym and food plans, but also even just like predictive for injuries, predictive for diseases, predictive for everything. Catch things faster, predict things before they even happen. I think that's the number one thing.
Do you think your digital twin may ever replace like a traditional, fitness trainer or coach?
Sure, I think that it probably will, whether it's ours or someone else's. The fact that you can take fitness gurus that have limited time in the day and be able to allow them to have extensions of themselves in the digital world that are now available 24/7, can talk to thousands of people at once in every major language, and be able to have perfect or um, be able to have memory that's at least better than human memory. That's a pretty profound concept that enables people to scale themselves in a way that wasn't really possible before. Um, so I think that is probably bad news for your for like many Joe personal trainers, but good news for high profile or celebrity personal trainers like Brian Johnson and Huberman and things like that, because they can scale themselves and allow individual people to access their knowledge and talk with them and learn with them and grow with them in a highly personalized way. So the personal training industry probably contracts, and a small number of experts probably are now able for the first time to have clients at scale because they now have unlimited time and can suddenly are multilingual and things like that.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of personal trainers are gonna kind of fade away. But then there's always those like few specific people that they want a personal coach, like somebody there with them that want to coach them
Yeah,
in
for sure.
person. So you'll have those few. But yeah, for the
That's
most part, people will probably go, the digital route than trying to hire an actual personal trainer.
still need someone to spot you though.
Yeah, especially like for athletes and stuff too. I think that'd be more like you'd want like a personal trainer there with you, like a coach.
For athletes, you'll have a personal trainer that uses a lot of AI tools. It's
Hmm.
probably more likely.
Yeah, the coaches definitely will have to implement um,
Yeah.
the AI to help them with their coaching.
It will absolutely be. I think with many industries, uh, including sports, it'll be the kind of thing where if you don't implement it, you're just dead. Honestly,
Yeah, you're way
it'll
behind.
yeah, like it'll be like sports with quantitative data where in 2002 you could get away with not having some Harvard statistic or MIT or whatever statistics guy on your staff, but in 2025, if you don't have um, that latest capacity to be doing all kinds of statistical analysis, you're just really gonna get crushed by the Red Sox or whomever. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like they've got like the latest math wizards on their staff, and they are absolutely gonna crush you with it if you don't have that tool.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think it'll be like that. I think AI will be like that.
Yeah. So I got one more question for you, and that's if for someone that's listening right now and they want to start experimenting with AI, in their fitness journey today, what's the first step that you would recommend for them to do?
First step, I think I would start playing with ChatGPT or something like that, and I think I would communicate some basic information about yourself and your health and fitness goals, and based on where you are in your journey, whether if you're a beginner or if you're someone more advanced, you could ask ChatGPT for suggestions on what you should do from here. I think that's probably a great way to get started.
Hmm. Yeah, I actually did this with a like a marathon training plan. I asked
Okay.
it how to put together a training plan to follow for 16 weeks or whatever
Yeah, for
to
sure.
improve my speed. So it actually gave me some pretty good results. So that was one way that I used it. Um,
Cool. What's your marathon time?
so I've never done an actual marathon. I've done triathlons. I did Ironman. I've done a
Huh?
100-mile ultra marathon.
Oh
But I've
wow.
never done an actual marathon. I did a marathon in my Ironman, so I've done
Well,
that.
if you did a marathon in your Ironman,
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I did.
For a
Yeah,
100 mile, I think you said you did an ultra.
yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
I've never done just the marathons. I don't know how
How long
fast I
did
could
it
do it.
take you to do 100 miles?
Say what now?
How long did it take you to run
Uh,
100 miles? That's so
28 hours and 35 minutes.
that is so crazy to me. You're like in that. You would do well in that. What's that new Stephen King movie, The Long March or whatever? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen it.
Or I think it's just about to come out. I'm half kidding, obviously, but there's a book from many years ago, Stephen King book, so it's a horror book, right? It's about a society where they have some kind of contest every year to see who can walk the longest. So you get some kind of huge prize if you're the winner, and you have to keep above a certain speed just for as long as you can. But it's Stephen King, right? So in his story, The Long Walk or The Long March or whatever, if you go below that speed, you get shot because it's Stephen King, right? So, but that's a new movie that's coming out, The Long Walk or The Long March or whatever. You do pretty good in that.
I have to check out the movie.
Looks good. I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
my Iron Man, I did the marathon in like 4.5 hours. So
All right. But it was,
I know,
again, it was part of an
yeah,
Ironman.
yeah.
You
So I
can't.
definitely could do a little less than that.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I've only done a half marathon.
Hmm.
I haven't done a full. But
So so go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you. If you have
sure
any
thing.
socials or
Easiest
anything.
way to find me is on Twitter because that's one of my addictions, I guess. So I'm Matty Ryze on Twitter. That's MattyRyze. Matty Ryze on Twitter. And I do keep my DMs open. And then Ryze Labs is on Twitter too. You'll find that linked from my Twitter. Our website is ryzelabs.io. And keep an eye out for Amico too, with some announcements that will be upcoming with regards to digital twins and AI companions and even fitness coaches.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time for coming on the
You.
podcast. You definitely have piqued my interest and give me
All right.
some good ideas for
Bye.
utilizing AI. You gave me
Awesome.
some ways I haven't used it yet that I'm gonna have to try out myself.
Cool.
So
Thanks so
I'm
much.
interested in trying it. So yeah, thank you for joining the podcast.
Cool.
And y'all be sure to tune in again next week for another episode of the Fitness Beginner